I'm back working on the deck lid for the IROC. I got it removed and set out and laid out here on the side. And I've spent several hours just kind of looking at things. What I'd like to do is, it looks like this is the first time it's been apart. It looks like, or at least it's a factory installation. Since the seals aren't available, you can't go buy like the new foam seal. I want to inspect this really carefully before I start putting it back together. And I'm going to take some measurements of where the original strips were. I found a glass shop, online, and found the materials that they use, and so I've got standard foam gasket that I think I can make work, and standard butyl caulk that one I think is actually recommended in the service manual. But I want to make sure that I measure before I disturb things too much. I want to measure where the strips lay on the deck lid so I get them back in the right place. And in the event that I ever have to do this again, hopefully not, but in the event that I have to do this again, if you know where things were originally and you measure them and you put it back, then if you take it apart a second time, put them back to those same measurements. The risk is, if you don't do that, you say, I put the parts down and I put them back where I think they used to be. Now I take them off. Every time you go through a generation of replacing it, it could move a little bit. So I just want to make sure things are in the right place. Secondly, I'll take the camera down here in a minute, but in fact I'll do it right now. The second thing is that there are 4 holes in the glass. The deck lid bolts through these very large holes. And if you'll notice on this one, right in this area, it was pretty rough. And I didn't know if it was rough from the factory, or if when I lifted the deck lid off, if I had scraped across here with the bolts, the screw threads. And you can see, even right now, you can see there's still a few little reflections in here, or little depressions. Those were pretty sharp, and this is tempered glass, and my experience over time with tempered glass is you can't have little sharp spots like that, or someday they'll develop into cracks and the whole thing will come apart on you. Also though, tempered glass is pretty hard. So I went online, I did some searching, didn't come up with a really good solution. What I wanted to do was polish them out, and the answer seems to be don't mess with tempered glass. However, I wanted to see what I could do. So anyway, I had some actually used emery paper. Actually emery cloth. This is about a 240 grit, and used that to polish this edge. And then I came back with crocus cloth, with the very fine abrasive cloth, and just ran those back and forth in the hole just to polish that edge a little bit, and it actually turned out very good. It makes me, in fact, it was so easy that I wonder if the tempering treatment is constant all the way across the glass. It's almost as if it may be that the whole glass area is tempered, but that they had a separate treatment down here around the holes so that they weren't as brittle, I'll call it. In any case, I got that polished up to my satisfaction, and now I'm not worried about it. The other holes are all pretty good. I went through and checked them all, but this one just, I could pick it up with a fingernail, and I was just worried about it. So I've got that. You can see where the adhesives sat down here, where that butyl strip connects. This is the rubber. It's kind of a rubber gasket that goes over the end. the end of the glass. There's one here and there's a small one on the other side. So I'm going to need to spend some time. I want to clean all of this. So I'm going to get some chemicals. My guess is that mineral spirits will move that. But I'll take my plastic scraper first and get off what I can, and then I'll clean and get the dirt off. I probably won't video that whole thing. Here's the underside of the deck lid though. And this piece came off with when I took it apart. So these are the little plastic, get that in the light properly. The little plastic nylon piece that bridges over between the steel and the glass. And what they have you do when you put it back together is put down a urethane caulk, and I think this is even a spot of urethane caulk, but they have that put down, and then this goes in on top of it. Let me get the right way. Then here is the butyl. Get that out of the way. Here's the butyl strip, and they pour right up against it, and the butyl strip comes up and makes the turn and goes across. And so it looks like as the water would come down, the butyl strip keeps it from leaking in and directs the water over the side and out to the sides. And it looks like all the way across. So you run that butyl strip all the way across. Got another one of these nylons on the other corner, another little pad up there. We've got 4 of these nylon. Look at how that has slipped. See, the bolt is all the way to the back of the nylon piece. In all 4 cases, you can see that the nylon stayed in the hole and the bolt slipped to the back as the whole deck lid shifted rearward. This one's probably the worst one. You can see how much is there. Now the foam strip that you can't get anymore, that's not available from GM, is this guy right here. And it's, when you look at the parts list book, it looks like it makes a turn sort of like the other one, but it does not. It came straight across here. It's got an interesting profile on the back. I don't know why it was engineered to have a ripple in it, other than that it looks like it guards or guides the caulking strip, the butyl strip. And I don't know the purpose of the foam exactly, because this material will seal it from water. I suspect that this captures it so that the caulk doesn't bleed out onto the glass, and the other is it may very well be a wind noise. As the air flows over the back window and underneath into that gap, it may smooth the airflow. In any case, this is a fairly narrow strip. It's it looks like I had noted before when I was scraping, there's no adhesive on this side, on the what would be the bottom on the car. It has adhesive on the bottom that holds it to the sheet metal. What I bought, not knowing what this looked like, what I bought is 5/16 inch tall with adhesive on both sides. And so now I need to decide what to do, whether I may want to take and see if I can cut that strip so that it doesn't have, so I don't have 2-side adhesive. I'm just not sure yet. But I'm going to measure this out, write down my measurements, take some extra pictures of how that all lays out. What I would say is, though, that the foam strip pretty much lines up with the edge of the what do you want to call it? The hem flange here, and you can see that it's kind of glued down. Right there is the edge of the where you take the sheet metal and it folds over the back, over the inner panel, and right there is the end of it, and that's about where it drops in. Now I'm going to lose a little bit of it, lose track of it a little bit as I go across here, because I had to scrape. I ran a plastic scraper underneath here, but still you can see where the adhesive, see if I can get without a shadow on it. You can see where the adhesive ran right about on the edge of that hem flange, and it looks like it did that pretty much all the way across. Here's where I obviously pushed in with a scraper, and there's the edge of the adhesive for the foam, and it comes all the way across here. And I'm sure this seems like maybe this is the boring part of the film where I'm spending too much time, but you only get one look at this before you go in and start tearing it apart. So I'm going to video it, and I'm going to stop and take a few still shots, and that way, one, it can help any one of you who's doing this, and two, if I ever have to come back and do it again, I'll have this in my file and take a second look. But same thing as before, I need to come back and get this strip all cleaned off and removed, and then we'll go from there. Alright, I've been taking measurements before I cleaned it off, and you can probably do this quickly and easily, and I've heard of people just coming in here with a caulking gun and running a bead of caulk down there and having it work. But the factory engineers worked really hard on body sealing to make sure that you didn't have water running off the rear window into the trunk, or into the luggage area. So I want to at least do my best to duplicate what they had so I don't get water in the car. So bear with me here. So in measurements, this flange on the end is about a 1/2 inch. It's maybe 7/16 to a 1/2 inch. So the seal came in 7/16 to a 1/2, right about at the edge of where the flange rolls back. Then this 2 inches is from the edge also. So you can tell when you look at this, this is urethane material. It's all black, I know. But this is urethane, and it's like the urethane caulk adhesive that sets. And right up against it, this is the butyl tape. And the factory had one that was probably perfectly formed. I've got a roll of it, and I'll lay it out. But what you'll see here is the butyl runs here, and the urethane butts right up against it. In the corners, there's a button, I'll call it, of what looks like more of the butyl material. It's probably like a body sealer. It's probably sealing a hole there. It doesn't look like it ever touched anything, but there is a pad on both corners. So the urethane, when it was put down, measured in, this whole bead comes from the edge 2 inches in, and then from the edge 5.5 inches in is the other pad. There's a style line, or a depression, so you can see this edge here. See if I can get it better. There we go. It's stamped with a line. So the foam, let's see if I can get it better. Here we go. I'll use where I got tape. So the foam seal sits at the bottom surface, right on top of the edge of the hem flange, right in here. And then the butyl tape is on you come across and it comes up, it's on the higher edge. When you get down to the end, the butyl tape stays on the higher edge till you get to the corner, and then it drops down into the depression, comes around the corner, follows the depression out here to the end, and then it looks like they folded it back double, or it's kind of a double thick for about that last 1.5 inches. And then, so then you end up with that urethane, and then these plastic pieces that bridge in. And I think on reinstallation they probably clip to the glass, but I haven't gotten that far yet. If I move down here to the other end, again you can see we've got urethane at this point, and the butyl tape comes across, makes the corner, follows the style line, and ends up down here in the corner. Another one of those little butyl pieces. And then the foam seal itself, the best I can measure here, the foam seal is 1/4 inch wide and 1/4 inch high. And what I bought was 5/16, not knowing for sure what it would take. In reality, this seal may be bigger than 1/4 inch, and I suspect it's it's deteriorated some over 40 years, 35 years, and so it's shrunken some. But actual measurement today is 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch, and it does have some. It's not solid. It's got some design to it. I'll try to save a piece of that and get a better look at that later. But I'm going to clean this all off then, and plan to lay. Here's my foam. I'm going to lay my new foam piece in there, and I've got some butyl tape, and so I'll start by cleaning and then by laying pieces in. Been working on cleaning the back window up, and there's the butyl remains that I got off. This plastic scraper has been doing very well. The butyl just kind of peels off. Now I still have to clean all the dirt. The point I was interested in though is, once you get the butyl off, there's a line here. I'm still trying to decide whether the foam tape, the foam seal, was double-sided or single-sided from the factory. And it almost seems that there is a residue of adhesive here, and perhaps that seal deteriorated over the years. Can't decide yet, but it sure seems as though it's gooey in the area where the foam was. So just point of note as I'm going here. Well, I've got the glass pretty well cleaned off on the deck glass. I peeled off a layer of tape. I've cleaned it with, I started with mineral spirits, moved to alcohol, and then finished with some pre-paint prep solvent that I have. Actually came from Eastwood, that did a pretty good job. There's still a little something there. It actually looks like the glass may be etched, because there's a little something that didn't want to come off. A very fine line in here, but I don't see anything that's going to hold up adhesion. I used a little bit of razor blade, most of the plastic scraper, and some solvent. So now I'm going to move over to the here to the deck lid itself, and I'm going to start trying to peel that, or peel off the bad stuff, so to speak. And I will make a note on these plastic pieces that they are marked right hand and left, RH, right hand and left hand. So if you do get them off, you don't want to get them mixed up, but if you do, you can separate them again. See what's underneath here. Yeah, see, I said I might be covering a body hole, and that's exactly what it is. It's a dot that seals up the body there. I'm just going to leave that there then. And then urethane could be fun. Well, there it comes. It's taking a little bit of paint with it. Alright, well, I'm going to let that sit for a minute. I maybe have to attack that from a different angle. As long as I'm back here. So here's the butyl tape. I'll try to get that out of here first. The interesting thing with the butyl stuff is while it sticks to the metal pretty good, it's actually not generally too hard coming off. Let's see, now let's get this guy. Get that one out of the way. I'm going to break that foam right there so I can take the two off together. Nice thing about these plastic scrapers is they don't scratch as much. Now there's losing a little bit of paint, but there's the adhesive strip that goes with the foam. And that butyl tape, there's a ridge there, and that butyl tape just kind of rides that ridge, and it looks like I said before, the foam sits down in the bottom. Disappointed that I peeled a little bit of paint there. I have to see if I can't. I may just have to touch that up just for environmental protection. And then just for a reminder note, these guys installed with the rounded edge toward the front of the car. And this one was actually a little bit off on an angle. Now I'll have to check and see, but it may be. I don't know whether when we install them, whether I leave them stuck here or place them on the glass. We'll have to see as we go. Let's see if I can get this. So there's the foam tape. Certainly looks like it maybe only had adhesive on one side. And see if I can get up closer to the camera with it, since you don't know how GM made this. See if you can get an end-on view. It's see, it has a groove in it, and in a profile view, it's not constant cross section. It's like a round section with a groove down the side of it.